Hi, my name is Evan McKenna, and I will be talking about the impact of culture and emergency management planning and response. To start off, what is culture? Culture is defined as the integrated patterns of human behavior that include the language, thoughts, communications, actions, customs, beliefs, values, and institutions of racial, ethnic, religious, or social groups. A little background information. The racial and ethnic diversity of the United States population is increasing. The increase brings an inclusive and integrated approach to disaster preparedness, response, and recovery activities. And developing cultural and linguistic competency allows public health officials and emergency managers to better meet the needs of diverse populations and to improve the quality of services and health outcomes during and after a disaster. There are 5 elements of culture competency within disaster preparedness. Number 1, awareness and acceptance of difference. Responders and survivors are often different in their racial, ethnic, and language characteristics. By improving communication skills as well as becoming self-aware of potential biases and stereotypes, however, public health officials and emergency managers can provide quality care to diverse populations in a culturally competent manner. Number 2, awareness of one's own cultural values. Examining personal prejudices and cultural stereotypes by performing an individual self-assessment can help public health officials and emergency managers become aware of their own cultural values and biases. Number 3, understanding and managing the dynamics of difference. This refers to the various ways cultures express and interpret information. Taking an individual's medical history is a systematic way to collect both medical and cultural information. This information promotes cultural understanding and improves the quality of services provided to the individual. Number 4, development of cultural knowledge. Cultivating a working knowledge of different health and illness-related beliefs, customs, and treatments of cultural groups in your local area can better equip public health officials and emergency managers with the information necessary to provide timely and appropriate services. And lastly, number 5, the ability to adapt activities to fit different cultural contexts. This concept refers to the ability to adapt and, as appropriate, to modify the services offered to fit the cultural context of the patients and communities you are serving. Now I'm going to talk about the RESPOND tool. The RESPOND tool is an acronym to use when helping people with cultural differences. It is a big part of number 3 from the previous slide. The RESPOND tool stands for build a report, explain your purpose, identify services and elaborate, encourage individuals to be proactive, offer assistance for individuals to identify their needs, negotiate what is normal to help identify needs, and determine the next step. How does culture impact emergency management? Culture creates unity between the people going through the disaster. Culture can also bring easier and more efficient methods of recovery from the emergency management officials. Culture is also the top driving force for recovery. And lastly, culture can bring together the communities and the emergency officials during the process as they get to know each other and become closer. People that are living in poverty can have a much harder time with the disaster than people that are not, because they will have poor living conditions, they could have difficulty receiving alerts, it'll be harder for them to find shelter, and it'll also be harder for them to receive evacuation help. For example, like poor living conditions, their house might be more prone to being completely wiped out during a hurricane or a tornado, which would make it even harder for them to find shelter afterwards. In conclusion, culture is extremely important in emergency management. Culture helps emergency management officials to know what methods they need to use for each different culture in order to help that culture recover as efficiently as possible. Understanding culture helps the quality of response from the officials. The increase in cultural diversity brings an inclusive and integrated approach to disaster preparedness, response, and recovery activities. And lastly, make sure to use the RESPOND tool. When understanding and managing that dynamics of difference, it really helps to make that process go a lot more smooth. Thank you very much.